With wholesaling, he was only going to make about 10 grand. With subject to, his profit margin is going to be above 50 grand. So in the math strategy, it's not about the coaches. It's all about the students. If the students are successful, then we're successful. And I want to talk to you a little bit about why it's so important that you master these different skill sets. Now, I have a student named Leland. He's a great student. He came to me wanting to just be a wholesaler. I spoke with him and talked to him about the importance of learning the different aspects of real estate investing in general. It was important for him to learn how to master these skill sets because you never know when you got to pull a different tool out of that tool belt. So when we talked about the deal, he said, man, I know I'm going to make about $10,000 on this deal if I just do a wholesale. I was like, that's great, but have you considered subject to? He was like, no, what's subject to? I said, well, go look back at your fast track course. You'll see what subject to is. So we talked a little bit about the difference between wholesaling and subject to. And the profit margins were enormous. With wholesaling, he was only going to make about 10 grand. With subject to, his profit margin is going to be above 50 grand. So let's talk about the math behind it. So this lady, she was going through pre-foreclosure. She was about 3 months behind in her mortgage. And let's say her mortgage was about $1,000 per month. All right? So that's 3 months times 1,000. So that's a $3,000 delinquent payment. So it's probably going to take about $4,000 with attorney's fees to reinstate her mortgage. Okay? So Leland was up for that. So he was willing to come to the table with the $4,000. Now, with that being said, he was going to be responsible for paying $1,000 a month for that mortgage. Now, this is what a subject to deal looks like. The owner's responsibility is to keep the mortgage in their name. The buyer or the investor responsibility is to take responsibility and pay that mortgage every month. So Leland was on the hook for paying $1,000 per month. Now, this is the cool thing about this deal. She only owed $70,000 on the house, right? 70 grand. The house, the market value was $150,000, okay? So we know that's an $80,000 equity position, right? 80K. That's the potential profit margin for Leland. So he facilitated the deal. He reached out to the attorney, got the house closed. In 45 days, he did a light renovation on that house and turned around and sold that house for $151,000. Now, that's a huge difference from him allowing the wholesale market to take the rest of that value for him, right? So it's important that you master these skill sets because at one point he wanted to wholesale that deal, but the most efficient and profit margin was going to come by him doing a subject to, lightly renovating, and ultimately selling that house on the market.